All right, let me open up my chat. Hello, guys. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you being patient. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm sure we have all experienced that in the past as well when we're teaching. But as teachers, we just go with the flow, pivot and deal with it, right? Okay, so let me go through and take a look at who I have in here with us. I see a fifth grade teacher from New Jersey. She's used it for years. Thank you, Brenda. Third grade, Michigan. Eighth grade science in Illinois. So just so you know, what we're going to be focusing on in this session is going to be your top 5 elementary classrooms. Now, as a middle school teacher, you might want to be in here to see what's going on before your students come to you. Sometimes we have teachers wanting to come in to also be able to differentiate and show students at a lower level. So if that's why you're here, absolutely welcomed. I just want to make it clear we're going to only be going over elementary lessons in this session though. So if there's something that might be better served for you, don't hesitate to hop out and head into another session. I see 4th grade and 5th grade. You've used it for social studies in the past, but new to science. Fantastic. Bilingual 5th grade, science and social studies. I see a New York teacher in here. So welcome so much. To give you guys a quick introduction on myself, my name is Laura Obert. I was a 5th grade teacher. I used TCI in my classroom, and I like to say I drank the Kool-Aid. I completely fell in love with the program, so much so that I've been training with TCI now for almost 12 years. I think it's almost 12 years. So I'm very excited to be here with you guys today for Summit. I appreciate you guys coming in because it is your summer and you actually have off and some free time. So we're so thankful that you guys came in and joined in with us today to go through TCI Summit with us. Quick housekeeping, same things that you've been hearing in the other sessions. You guys are pros. I see you're already doing this. Melanie might have already gone over this when I was backstage, so I apologize if I'm repeating, but the best way to communicate with us in times where we're asking questions, like question and response type of a thing, is going to be through chat. So there's going to be sometimes I might ask you guys questions, just like Melanie did, to find out what grade you teach and where you're from. Chat's going to be the best way to do that. As we navigate throughout our session today, if you have specific questions that you want Melanie and I to answer for you, that's going to be done through your Q&A. The reason why we do that is because we have 37 teachers in here. That chat response is going to be moving. So we don't want to miss something that you need support from us for. So definitely put any questions that you need us to answer for you in that Q&A so that we can Melanie will either reply to you while I'm talking. If it's something, excuse me, if it's something that we think is best to do whole class and whole group, we're going to go ahead and pause and do that while I'm going through. Closed captioning is available. Make sure that your chat is set to everyone. So just give me a quick overview. I think some of you guys were sharing it already in chat. If you've been using TCI, go ahead and type for me how many years you've been using TCI. Even if you've been using it for social studies and you're just stepping into science, how many years have you been using the TCI platform? 2 years, brand new. 6 years, 3, 3, 3. First year for 4th grade, brand new. 7 years. You're catching up to me. 3 years since 2015. Awesome, Tanya. 5 years. So we have a variety of people. So that's really helpful for me to know. And I appreciate you guys taking the moment to respond to that. That's really helpful because I don't want to show you guys resources that if you have been using TCI for many, 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 many years, and everybody in here is a veteran user, I don't want to spend time showing you something that you have been using for many years. However, since we do have quite a few people in here that are pretty new to the program, either brand new this year or this is their 2nd year teaching with it, I will go through and make sure that I'm highlighting some resources for you guys that you might not be aware exist in here, just so that you know everything that's available to support your instruction next year and to support your students in the classroom as well. What we're going to be covering over today is going to be looking at some of our top investigations with the elementary classroom. We're going to specifically walk through one for kindergarten, or one for 2nd grade and one for 4th grade, just to show you an upper elementary and a lower elementary lesson. But then we're also going to talk about some topics that I know as science teachers, it is hard in the elementary classroom to find time for science instruction. And so some tips and tricks and ways in which we can integrate this into our ELA blocks. And sometimes we can even integrate this into our math blocks too. And then other things that we're going to highlight and go over in here too is, again, I know finding time for instruction can always be a challenge in that elementary classroom. So what not to miss within your social or within your science curriculum. And so we're going to talk about what not to miss and where to get that information as we're going in. The first lesson that we're going to take a look at, we're not going to go live yet. We're going to go in here, we're going to take a look at this grade 4 lesson. We were, but now the video is not working. It was working yesterday. So we're going to talk about this grade 4 lesson, and I'm going to pivot just like we do as teachers, right? When things don't work well for us, we go ahead and we are going to jump in live. So I had it set up for 2nd grade, but we're going to go ahead and jump into 4th grade first, since that video is not working for us. So within your science curriculum, one of the great things is if we're utilizing TCI, you're most likely teaching next gen or a version of next gen. Now, some states have been kind of tricky, like they like to do, and they have their own standards, but they're really closely aligned or incredibly similar to next gen. It just might have a different name. And so the expectation of what you're covering and what you're teaching throughout those lessons are going to be the same thing that you're teaching within Bring Science Alive, because it has been created and developed around the next generation science standards so that you know everything you need to cover is going to be hidden here. I'm in my teacher subscription right now. So if I go into unit 2, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at energy unit. As I mentioned, if you're teaching next gen or something incredibly similar, all of the information that you need to set yourself up for success and to include into your lesson plans is going to be found on this landing page here. I'm at the unit level right now. So it'll let me know any of those performance expectations, which are basically going to be the standards that you're covering, that you're teaching throughout that unit. Next gen is really big on the 3-dimensional learning. So what science and engineering practices, cross-cutting concepts, and disciplinary core ideas are we covering throughout this unit? You can hover over these and you can see exactly what you're going to be teaching and how you're going to be teaching it. That's what these science and engineering practices are throughout your unit of instruction. If you want to, you can go ahead right down here and click on the full correlations. And that's going to give you the complete NGSS correlations. Again, even if you're like, I know New Jersey has different standards, but they're very, very closely aligned with NGSS. So you're still hitting on those SEPs, DCIs, and CCCs. You can go ahead and click right in here and it's going to give you that 3-dimensional learning that's taking place. When you are getting ready to teach, your lessons are directly below hand. One of the things that I just want to take a moment to talk about, when we are in TCI and we talk about our lessons, it's really more like a chapter. So you'll hear me throughout our time together today saying lesson and chapter almost interchangeably, because as an elementary teacher, when I think my brain, this is the way my brain works. When I think what I'm teaching for a lesson, I think of my day's instruction for that day. You are not going to teach a science lesson in TCI in one day unless that's all you're teaching for the day. So I don't want your heart to race. I don't want you to have stress and anxiety looking at this and being like, there's no way. Because when I click into this lesson, one of the things that I'm going to see in here is kind of the pacing and how long it's going to take. So when I come in and I'm taking a look at everything that we're going to be covering in here, it could be a little overwhelming. And I might think, how am I doing that in one day? You're not. It's going to, depending on your instructional time, it could be anywhere from, you might be doing 20 minutes of science 3 days a week. You might be doing, I sometimes talk to unicorns that are teaching science for an hour every day. And so it varies from district to district, state to state, and sometimes even school buildings within the district. So when you come in here and you're thinking of a lesson, really put that in perspective of like a chapter. Because if I click into this investigation slideshow, which TCI has created slideshows for you for every single lesson, and this is going to be, as the teacher, your greatest resource and tool that you're using with instruction with your kids. When I click into the slideshow, I'm going to see how this lesson is developed, start to finish, how we scaffold going throughout the instruction, but I also see pacing over here. So again, if you are doing 20 minutes of science instruction 3 days a week, you can come over here and kind of chunk and say, okay, I know that I'm going to get through the observing the phenomena and the first meter challenge on day 1. And then we're going to discuss and kind of unwrap the challenge on day 2. And then I'm going to come in here and on day 3, we're going to cover vocabulary, science concepts, and my kids are going to get started on reading. And so you really can kind of chunk out your day and your week by looking at the pacing that's provided for you inside of this hands-on investigation. When we go in, so again, we're in the energy unit, and this lesson that we're covering is the very first lesson in the energy unit, and it's called How Are Energy and Motion Related? Every single one of our lessons for K-5 science is going to start by observing a phenomena. And so when you come in here, we want our students to observe the phenomena. And so we're talking again about that relationship between energy and motion and how they're related. So think about what you have to do if you've ever cannonballed in a pool before, what you have to do to get the biggest splash you're capable of getting so that you can get everybody on the deck wet. And so we're trying to connect into that prior knowledge with students, make the phenomena relatable to them, and give them real world experience. Anytime you see these little orange box in the upper right hand corner, just so you know, there's teacher notes there. If it's helpful for you to take a look at that while you're teaching or planning, I just want you to know that that lives there. Not only do we want to access students' experiences within the phenomena, but we're looking at the phenomena here, and it is when a fast soccer ball hits the net moves more than when a slow soccer ball hits the net. We're connecting that back into how can we get that biggest splash with the cannonball? If we take a running jump, is that going to get us more water spraying than if we just do it standing still from the side of the pool? If we change our body composition a little bit, is that going to change it? So like, again, connecting back into that prior knowledge and our past experiences. And you have the option, if you want to actually get hands-on with the phenomena, we give you a try it here. So one option, if you want to test this out with your kids so that they're kind of experiencing the phenomena in the classroom, you can test it out by rolling a light ball against the wall, and then you can roll it quickly, you can roll it slowly, and you can try rolling a heavier ball against the wall, rolling it quickly and slowly. So the students are comparing and seeing, what does that force and motion look like? What does that energy transfer look like between a lighter ball and a heavier ball, and the speed in which I'm rolling that into the wall? And so then we give your students an opportunity to visualize it. So we are always going to give a video for your observing the phenomena. And they never have sound, just so you know, they never have sound. So your students can watch this multiple points to really see what we are observing, what we're seeing, what we're noticing. So in the chat, go ahead and let me know, what are some things you're observing within this phenomena video? What do you see? What stands out? So in chat, what are we noticing and observing in this phenomena video? I see a soccer ball being kicked into a net. The net is moving. Thank you, Melanie. Any other observations? You know, a kid is going to say, I see a bird flying in the sky. The ball hits the net and the net moves. Thank you, Heather. Any other observations? All right, so we're seeing that relationship between the ball that is moving in the sky hitting the net, and then that is resulting in the net moving as well. And so again, we're trying the net changes shape when it moves, absolutely. And so then your students are going to have an opportunity to think about what they already know about energy or motion and how they're related, and asking any questions that they might have. So as we're going through and students are going to be setting up the investigation, we want to kind of review some topics with them, because remember, this is the first lesson in this unit of instruction. So there might be some review, some connections to prior content, or, you know, they may have learned this in previous grades and now we're going to build upon it. And so we just want to kind of review that background information with them. Anytime you see these talking points, just so if you're not familiar, it will give you talking points. When you click on these plus signs, it will give you talking points with your kids. So if you're ever hearing like crickets in the classroom when you ask a question, or your brain goes back to Bueller, these are going to be really great resources to kind of help support you through. Throughout your lesson and your instruction, you're also going to be seeing opportunities to connect back to that phenomena. We don't want to just show the phenomena in the beginning and then ask them in the end, like, well, okay, what did you learn? We want multiple touch points where students are going to be connecting their learning back to explaining and answering that phenomena. So what we're doing in this investigation, and this is one of my favorite ones to do, is we are exploring the relationship between energy and motion. And so I remember when I was in the classroom going into the hallway, and I thought it was great because we got to roll a ball all the way down the hallway and see how far we could get it, right? That was what we were doing. We were competing against our friends. We were competing against our classmates to see just how far I could roll a ball. But I didn't really understand the science behind that. And I didn't make any connections between the relationship between energy and motion. So we've taken that ramp type lesson that we've maybe done in the past, and we've spun it on its head. Instead of just having our students see how far they can get the ball to go, what we're going to do instead is we're going to give them a challenge. Now, as an elementary teacher, one of my favorite things that's embedded throughout the Bring Science Alive curriculum, we've given you videos so that you can see how to set this up. Whether you watch this as a teacher ahead of time or you have your students watch this and it'll walk them through setting up the investigation if they're setting it up themselves. It's a great resource rather than trying to read steps and procedures like 5 times and kind of being like, okay, wait, what am I supposed to do next? Okay, what comes after this? Instead, we have a video. In this video, Jerome is going to walk you through exactly how to set up this investigation. What that's going to look like is we're actually going to be using a ramp. And on that ramp, we're going to have different meter marks. And so on the ramp, we're going to mark it off by 1 centimeter increments. And then we're going to identify with bigger numbers every 5 centimeters on this ramp. What we're also going to do is we're going to place tape on the floor. We're going to have 3 pieces of tape. You have your 0 meter mark of tape, your 1 meter mark of tape, and your 2 meter mark of tape. This all comes inside of your kit. You have a meter stick inside of your kit for your kids to set this up, and then you just need to provide tape with them. Painter's tape works great because it comes up super fast and easily so that you're not, really sitting there trying to get tape off of the floor. So what the students are going to be doing is they have a challenge and a goal where they have to, using the ramp, they have to get the ball to stop at exactly 1 meter. Now, I am super strict with my kids when I do this with them. It can't be just a little bit shy and a little bit before that tape mark. It can't go just a little bit over that tape mark. It has to be right on that 1 meter line, that 1 meter tape mark in there. And then what we're having the students do as they're doing their trials of trying to get that ball to stop at exactly that 1 meter is they're making these observations and collecting data and identifying, did their ball need more energy, less energy, or was it just right? Did they get it to stop at that 1 meter mark? Some of the things that they're also exploring as they are trying to meet the challenge need at that 1 meter mark is the students are able to adjust 2 different variables in this first trial. And so in the first trial, they're able to, we really want them to manipulate and play and see what is the relationship between energy and motion. If I lift my ramp up higher, is my ball going to go further? If I drop the ball from 30 centimeter mark, is that going to give it more energy to go further? If I need it less, if I drop it at 5 centimeter mark, will that give me less energy? And then the other thing that they're exploring is the angle. So a protractor comes in the kit with this as well, and the students are able to adjust the angle of the ramp. And so again, they're using 2 variables at this point because we really want them just manipulating with it and seeing that relationship between energy and motion. Now, if your students, you might get a group of students that gets it at that 1 meter mark pretty quickly. And so if they do that, you can scaffold your instruction by asking them and challenging them, okay, can you find a different angle and a different distance up the ramp that can get it to stop at that 1 meter mark as well? There's not just one relationship between angle and distance up the ramp that's going to get it to that 1 meter mark. So they can continue challenging themselves. How many different angles and ramps can they get to get that ball to stop at that 1 meter challenge? Once the students have gone in and they've completed it and they've done that challenge, and let me just tell you the energy in the classroom when they're doing this, if you've never done this one before, the energy in the classroom or in the hallway is great. If you do have the kids in the hallway, just maybe remind them that their peers and your colleagues are teaching in the other classrooms, but it's a great way to do this. Another thing, if you're using the ball comes in the kit. I've had some teachers that I've worked with that are like, you know what, my kids really love racing the cars. And so they'll bring in Matchbox cars and use Matchbox cars to go down the ramp and to get it to stop at that 1 meter challenge. Whatever material you can envision, absolutely use it. Just know the goal is stopping that item going down the ramp and stopping it at that 1 meter challenge. Once we've gone through and we have completed that 1 meter challenge, we have some discussion topics because we really want to make sure that our students are understanding that relationship between energy and motion. The higher up we're releasing it, the more energy, the further the ball is going to go. The greater the angle of the ramp, the more energy, the greater the ball is going to go. Once we've then gone through, you can do an extension and improve your design. And this is where the 2-meter challenge is going to come into place. This is where we teach the students about variables. Now they're going to look at their data sets. They're going to identify which variable they think would be good to keep as a constant variable. Maybe they're going to keep their angle. They had a lot of success with their angle at 30 degrees. And so they're going to keep that as their constant. And then now they're going to change the distance up the ramp and see how that affects the ball moving, and this time getting it to stop at that 2-meter challenge. So this is a fantastic lesson to go through and do with your students. The presentation, the slideshow will walk you through step by step so that you are completing this investigation with your kids, and it will support you as a teacher. You do have the ability, just so you know, to tailor these. So while TCI has already created them for you, which is a huge help with saving our time in the classroom, you do have the ability for any of our slideshows. You can come in wherever you see this paper pencil icon, you can edit and tailor the slideshow so that it is meeting your needs, meeting your students' needs. You can skip slides. You can add your own language in. You can add your own slides in. If you've done something else with energy and motion that you want to bring in, you can embed that and add that into your slideshow. You have complete autonomy to tailor this so that you are building it exactly what you need. How do we receive the science kit? Is there a separate price? So the science kits, it depends on how what your district adoption has looked like. We do offer science kits. They don't have to come with the program. So districts can choose to purchase those. And yes, there is a different price. If you're wanting to just buy the teacher guide and the journals and the student platform, you can do that. You can also bundle it where you're getting the kits in there with that as well. And so it's very flexible building depending on what you and your district needs and what your budget is and what you're purchasing. Okay, now we're going to pivot and we're going to go over to a 2nd grade lesson. And this is what I originally had pulled up. So I'm going to go ahead and just switch over since we kind of pivoted when that technology wasn't working. So we're now going to go into a 2nd grade lesson. One of the things that I said I wanted to identify with you guys too, not only talking about really dynamic lessons that we've built in here, which to be perfectly honest with you, all of the lessons are top lessons. I can say that having used quite a lot of them in various different grade levels. But one of the things that I want to highlight too is that while we have created our curriculum around NGSS and around the standards, we've also been really mindful within the elementary classroom because we are for teachers by teachers. Bert mentioned that this morning. Everybody that's presenting with you guys today has been in the classroom and is a teacher. We truly understand the struggles and the challenges of finding time to teach in the elementary classroom. As elementary teachers, we are teaching 5 subject areas and we are really limited. And unfortunately, maybe not so unfortunately, but yes, unfortunately, we know that math and science or math and reading are going to take precedence. Minimum, you're going to teach 90 minutes of reading, 90 minutes of math. And then that sometimes can be really challenging for finding time for that science and social studies curriculum. When you are in here and you're trying to get really creative with, okay, how am I going to make this work logistically in my classroom? One of the things that I want to highlight, we're now in a 2nd grade program. The platform looks the same K-5. Under this unit highlight, I'm in unit 3. Under this unit highlight, it'll tell you what to know, which is helpful because it kind of lets me know how we're scaffolding and building throughout this lesson of instruction. But the biggest takeaway that I want you guys to leave here with today is underneath that, it tells you what not to miss. So for unit 3 in grade 2, it tells us what not to miss. We have to make sure that we're teaching what is on Earth's surface. How does Earth's surface change? How can problems caused by wind and water be solved? Those absolutely need to be taught to make sure that we are hitting on the standards that Next Gen is expecting us to teach with our students, or that our state is expecting us to teach with our students that's closely aligned with Next Gen. If I scroll through and I see the lessons in this unit, there are 7 lessons or 7 chapters within this unit of instruction, but there are 3 of them that I absolutely have to teach, have to hit on to make sure I'm hitting the standards. So we don't ever want you to feel like you don't have enough information or that, we're moving too quickly with your kids. So we have scaffolded and set up our units in really thoughtful ways to support your students and instruction. We also understand that there's sometimes where you're like, I can't get all of this in. I just need to know what I absolutely have to hit, and that's what I'm going to hit. So if you go through lessons 1 through 7, you know your kids are going to fully understand the standards that they are expected to learn in a really thoughtful progression. If you are needing to speed that up a little bit, you're going to go to this what not to miss. And you know, these are the 3 lessons in this unit that you absolutely have to hit on. The others are more flexible to take a look at and see, do my students need to build on this? Do my students need kind of this repetition or this reiteration of the standards? Are they good? Can I move on? Then you know you're going to. So if you take nothing away from today's session, take away at the unit level, and I'll repeat this because it'll probably come up in a question. At the unit level, I'm on the unit overview under unit highlights, that what not to miss section. The other things that you're going to see under here is we will give you those progressions. You can hover over these and learn them right up here. But we chunk it out for you by each lesson as well. So this is going to cut down your grading time or your lesson planning time, because you can just copy, paste, and embed these right into your lesson plans and know that you are 100% guaranteed you're going to be hitting on all of the performance expectations and the 3-dimensional learning that needs to take place. Inside each unit of instruction, other things that I wanted to point out for you too, every unit of instruction for K-5 has an engineering design or an engineering challenge built in. These are so fun to do with your kids. And it's really great because it gives them an opportunity to really thoroughly problem solve, which I know for me personally, that was something a lot of my kids were struggling with in the classroom, was that ability to problem solve. And so when you see these 3 dot icons, this is going to let you know that that's an engineering design or an engineering lesson. This one is one of my favorite ones to do with kids. Again, we're in 2nd grade, so we're in a lower elementary here. And if we go in and we take a look at the observing or the overview, Ginger's going to walk you through and she will show you exactly how to set up this investigation. Again, it's super helpful and it's going to decrease your prep time. And then it'll give you your objectives. And so in this lesson, students are going to be observing the effects of landslide on a road. They're going to define a problem that's going to be dissolved by a design to protect the roads from landslide. They're going to then design the solution to that problem. And they're going to engineer to find ways to use materials to solve the problem of erosion and landslides taking place. And then they're going to be able to test this out in the classroom, and they can go back in and revise their models as needed. And so it'll give you any recommendation, things that you might want to do before prep to kind of limit your time as you're getting in. So going in and taking a look at this investigation, students are going to be still given a phenomena. We start, like I said, every K-5 lesson, even engineering tasks, are going to start by observing a phenomena. And so students are going to come in and they are going to explore the phenomena. And the phenomena for this lesson is landslides can block roads and cause other damage. As mentioned before, we have this video and students are going to be able to watch this video to observe the phenomena. So let's take a look at this phenomena video. What are some things that we're observing in this phenomena video? What do you notice? What do you see? Share it in the chat. What can we observe and see and notice in this lesson phenomena video? Falling rocks. Many rocks on the side of the road. So when we get right here in the video, we can see quite a lot of rocks on one side of the road. Anything else? I'll play it one more time, see what other observations we can make. One of the observations I'm making is it's very rocky when we're looking, no pun intended. It's the camera is very rocky, and I can see a lot of movement on the camera, which is then letting me know that the ground is not very flat. And so I can make that observation. We observed all of these fallen rocks from the side of this ledge here, and I can notice not only are they on the road, but the car has to move into the other lane to be able to then get around it. I can see damage to the guardrail over on the other side where the rocks fell. And so there's a lot of really great observations that our students can pull from this lesson phenomena video. So again, the lesson phenomena is landslides can block roads and cause other damage. Whenever you're doing one of our engineering designs, you're always going to define the problem and then design a solution and test your design. We're going to follow that same cycle for every engineering task, K-5. And so when we go into defining our problem, again, students have another opportunity here to watch a landslide taking place. So if they're not familiar with what a landslide is, if they don't live in an area where this is something that occurs and is prevalent, they have an opportunity to come in here and observe and watch a landslide taking place. And then what they're going to be doing is they're going to define a problem. So the road is built on the side of a mountain, and landslides are likely to happen and can cause damage to the road. As an engineering team, you are asked to come up with a design to protect the road from landslides. As mentioned before, we have multiple touch points to connect to that phenomena. If you ever want to pause to do that connection, just know those are clickable, and you can always, have these little mini sessions to connect back to that phenomena as you go through. Each team is going to cover their area with newspaper so that we don't make a gigantic mess. And then you're going to get your materials manager to go up to the front with the teacher and grab your bin and your mixture or your road. And so we're going to be gathering a mixture of soil and rocks to mimic and model landslide materials. As you are now creating your model, you're going to be able to then kind of form a mountain within your bin by pushing it over to one side to kind of model and form that mountain, kind of similar to what we saw in those videos where we observed the rocks falling in a landslide. At the bottom of your mountain, you're going to place a strip of paper to mimic and mirror your road. And that's how the students are going to kind of be testing their design and seeing if it's working. With their team, they're going to explore the different materials provided for this lesson in the kit. And they're going to think about how can we stop the landslide from reaching the road? What materials might work best? How can you use the materials in different ways? And then they're going to be able to come up with drawing their model in their interactive student notebook or their journal. And then they're going to test it out and see if their model actually works. So they're designing the solution to the problem. They're creating a model of their design, and then they're going to actually build it, test it out, and see if they're able to stop the landslide from reaching the road. And so this is a really great engineering task and engineering lesson to do with their students. Any questions so far? We have about 15 minutes left of the regular session before we get into kind of ending Summit for you guys. And we have some really exciting things to share at the end of Summit as well. Any questions with some of the resources that I've shared? I know we have a lot of new users in here. So if you have any questions about the program or the platform, and for those of you that have been using it, I shared a great lower elementary and a great upper elementary lesson. If you've been using it in your classroom, in the chat, go ahead and share your favorite lesson that you've done with your kids in the past. It's just so that we can give our new TCI users some great ideas of lessons that are going to be coming in their future. So in chat, either post any questions that you have regarding our resources or lessons that you've done in the past that you absolutely love. The OWL lessons in 5th grade is phenomenal. If you have students that do get a little nauseous, just be mindful of that. But it's one of my favorite lessons. So in the kit comes actual OWL pellets, and your students are going to basically be kind of dissecting those pellets and seeing what evidence and what materials they can find out about what the owls have eaten. And in there, you're going to see little bones and then be able to kind of identify what animals the owls have eaten. It's such a phenomenal lesson. Oh, Jennifer said she loves the similarity between the social studies platform. Absolutely. So I first started using TCI in my social studies classroom before the science instruction came out. And that was one of my favorite things as well. You truly are able, it's the same, the resources are almost identical and the same, depending on obviously the content and the standards. And so it's very easy to navigate back and forth and use the great platform that you know from social studies and using it in your science classroom. Jennifer, you don't have science yet. You can get a trial. Since you attended Summit today, you can get a trial of the science for your grade level and test it out this year and see how it is in your classroom with your kids.
I will go ahead and put the link in there in 1 second.
Perfect. Thank you, Melanie. She's answering another question. But that's one thing for you guys to know that's a really great resource. If you've been using it for social studies and you want to test it out for science, but your district hasn't adopted it yet, you now get that free because you attended Summit. Vice versa, if you've been using it in science and you don't have TCI for social studies and you're really intrigued to testing out some of our social studies lessons, you also will be able to get that. So Melanie just shared the link with you guys so that you can register and sign up to get that free trial. And you have access to everything, the whole entire program through the duration of the year, just from coming and attending Summit today. So that's a big thank you to you guys so that you can test it out and see how it works in your other subject areas with your students. One of my other favorite lessons, just to kind of talk about it really quickly, I'm not going to pull it up. In third grade, we're talking about how some species survive and not others. And so obviously one of the topics that we're going to be talking about within that is going to be camouflage. And so in order to do that investigation, we have 3 different backgrounds that the students are going to be able to visit 3 different backgrounds in the classroom. One background is black butcher paper. One background is white butcher paper. And then another background is going to be a bunch of different newspaper put down on the ground. Little pro tip, having done this so many times, I actually created and mirrored this in fabric so that I don't have to prep it every single year. I have a little bag with all of my backgrounds folded in it. And yes, at Joann Fabric, they do carry newspaper print background or newspaper print fabric. And then we give you the mold so that you can cut out moths from each of those different backgrounds. So you're going to have a bunch of black moths, white moths, and newspaper print moths. And at each of these stations and each of these backgrounds, you're going to lay out the 3 different species of moths, the 3 different types and colors of moths. And your students are going to act as hungry birds, and they have to squat down and they have to pick up as many moths as they can in a set amount of time. Let's say it's like 30 minutes, or 30 minutes. That's not the same amount of time, like 30 seconds. One way that you can also extend this, I've given my kids tweezers to really mimic and the beak of a bird. And so they have to use the tweezers rather than kids just grabbing it with their hands and getting handfuls at a time. They have to really use tweezers to like mimic and grab one moth at a time. And the goal of this is to then take a look at the data collected and see which species of moth was most likely to be gathered and eaten in the black background, which type and species was less likely to be gathered and eaten in the background. And then we get to experience that in all 3 backgrounds. So obviously in the black background, the black moths are going to be most likely to survive, less likely to get eaten. The white and the newspaper are going to be a little bit more visible. In the newspaper print, you can hardly find the newspaper print moths. And so it's a really great lesson for students to really start to understand how some species are able to survive and not others through the adaptation and camouflage. And so that's another fantastic lesson. Awesome, Jennifer, yes. So definitely go in because you're in Summit today. If any of your teachers, so Jennifer said that she is a science lead in her building, you now have access to it. If any other teachers in your building are here, they also will have access to it, but you definitely can pull it up and be able to explore it with your teachers and test it out and see how it works in the classroom with some of your kids. Any questions, anything that I can show you that would be really helpful before we're finished with our session together today? One thing that I will just kind of highlight and point out, just in case you guys are not familiar with this, again, both in science and social studies, because we are for teachers by teachers, we are constantly wanting to improve to make sure that our curriculum and our program are best for you and for your students, and we're going to support you and your learners in your classroom. The way in which we do that is getting feedback from you guys. Your feedback is invaluable. You guys are in the classroom, in the trenches, teaching with this day in and day out. So definitely let us know exactly how you can let TCI know what our developers can create and develop to support you. That's going to be done up here in any platform that you're in. You're going to see this little question mark icon right next to your name. This is going to take you to your help desk. So any problem solving that you have, any questions that you have, that's going to pop up here in your help desk. This is searchable. So what we've put in here first is you will see kind of frequently asked questions pop up. And then there's also a search engine. So let's say that you do Google Classroom and you need help troubleshooting Google Classroom. You can type into this search engine and type Google, and any articles having to do with Google will pop up. One of them is troubleshooting Google. And so you can come in here and you can get step-by-step directions to help you troubleshoot. The other thing that you're going to see whenever you see this question mark is this feedback box. I cannot stress to you guys enough how important it is to let us know what we can do to support you in both science and social studies. Sometimes we've developed amazing resources and you're like, that is great, but it would be great if it could do, and you just give us a little stretch or extension that resource can do to better support you and your learners. Let us know. Sometimes you might be using a completely different platform in a different subject area and you're like, oh, TCI is amazing, but I wish it had this resource that I have in math. Let us know. The more specific you can be, the more examples you can provide, the easier it is for us to like understand exactly what you're looking for and begin developing and building that. TCI is so responsive. I've put feedback in here before, and within the next year, I can see the same exact thing that I requested has popped in there. Sometimes the responses are even quicker. We are constantly developing and building new resources. And the great thing about your adoption of TCI is no matter when you adopt it, as we develop these resources, you're going to have access. So let's say you adopted last in 2022. Any resources we've developed since then, you have access to and will continue to have access to as we build and add and put new ones in there. And so that's going to happen under that feedback box for you, under that question mark. The other thing that I just want to highlight, because I feel like this sometimes is really helpful, I know I missed it a lot when I was using it in the classroom, is under the setting, there's 3 areas for you to go in and explore, and you can set this up to your own personal preferences. The others, you don't have to worry about. They're back end, like IT stuff that the district's taking care of. The 3 areas you might want to go in and explore to set it up to your preferences are student features. We have Lexile leveled readers. So from 2nd grade up, your students have option to go between 2 different Lexile scores. Kindergarten and 1st grade, you're emerging readers. And so we know that our students, we're helping our students to read, so they don't have that Lexile level, but every other grade level does. And so your students can toggle back and forth between level A, which is written at a grade level band, and level B, which is about a 30% lower Lexile score. You have the ability to put in Spanish. Your students can toggle back and forth. You have controls over that. You can control, now this is something that not a lot of you guys have realized, especially if you've been using it for years. We do have the text to speech read aloud, which you guys can see in the student text. You can press play and it'll read the audio out loud. Now you have the ability, because we have listened and heard, you have the ability to choose what that voice sounds like. And so narration is going to be a human voice modeling the text. Text to speech is going to be what we've traditionally had in there, where it's more automated, but in the text to speech, you have a highlighting ticker that goes along. So if you have students that are working on fluency, that highlighting ticker will be really helpful for them. If you want your students to hear the text read aloud, the narration, go ahead and select narration. Whatever you select in your platform, that's what your students will hear if they press play. You can change it at any time, but just know whatever you have selected, that's going to be the narration that your students are hearing. The main idea finder is one of my absolute favorite things. No matter how much I worked on main idea, even with my 5th graders, they still struggled. They wanted to just always say it's a topic sentence. And so that main idea is great. However, maybe you're like, guys, TCI has been telling you the main idea all year, and now I need you to tell me. You can turn that feature off so that your students now have to highlight and show you what the main idea is in the text. So you have a lot of flexibility within these resources. And then you can decide if you want your students to be able to restart the lesson games and the reading checks. So that's under settings, student features. The second area you're going to want to go to is grades. My personal classroom goal is 70% mastery. So I have adjusted that in here. TCI's default is going to be 50%. And so if you're going through and you want it to be something different than 50, you can go in and change that under settings and grades. If you're happy with 50%, leave it. You can also adjust the sections and lessons as well up here, as well as when you're grading it by, and the point value that you're giving, you can adjust that in there too. The third area that you're going to want to take a look at is going to be student access. You have the ability to lock things down. So let's say you're an upper elementary teacher and you know your kids are immediately going to go to those lesson games, and that's where they're going to go on the first day of school and just play games and they haven't learned anything. If you don't want them to be able to do that, you can uncheck lesson games. And what that means is your students cannot go in and access the lesson games at all in their subscription unless you assign it to them. So when you're ready for them to have access to it, you would assign it. Now they can take it. So this, again, just comes down to your preference. If you want everything open because you don't want to have to spend time creating assignments for your kids, all of these are going to be checked off. If you want more control and you don't want your kids accessing the textbook or accessing the lesson games or anything until you're ready for them to, uncheck it, and then your students are kind of locked out of it. So just to reiterate, settings, you're going to want to go to your student features, grades, and student access. And those are the 3 areas you're going to want to explore to set it up based on your own preferences. All right. Last thing, so we are almost finished with Summit, and there's a few things that I just want to kind of go over for you guys now that we're coming to the end of our session together today. And of course, it's starting to work a little bit more for me here. Some of these things you've heard in period 1 and period 2, but just to reiterate, it really is so helpful to join the TCI Facebook community, because within that TCI Facebook community, and if you want to just scan this QR code, it'll pop you right in there. Within that community, there's a lot of brainstorming, collaboration, problem solving, anything that you can imagine is taking place in there. In addition to that, not only are you talking and communicating with other teachers across the nation that are utilizing TCI, other people who work within TCI staff members that you saw in the morning session with Bert, they also are in there. We are checking it often and giving feedback as well. So I'm in the classroom, I jump in and I say, oh, in my classroom, these are things that I've done. TCI account managers are in there, TCI developers are in there. And so you're going to get a lot of responses and feedback. It's a great place to be. When you're doing this in-app PD, and I know Brian mentioned it this morning, the in-app PD is phenomenal. We are constantly adding to them. They just started building these in-app PDs a little over a year ago now, and we already have so many more in addition to what we began with. And with them, if your district will allow it, you can print off the certificates of completion so that you can get some PD hours if that's something that your district approves and will allow. And so definitely go in, whether you get PD points for it or not. If there's any component within TCI that you feel like you're struggling with, or resources that you're like, I don't really remember where to find these, and the people in Summit went through it really quickly, in-app PD is where you're going to get any answers to any questions that you may possibly have. So definitely go through and take a look at that when you have a chance. The next thing that you're going to see in here, again, we've talked about this, is this new TCI coaching. This is a phenomenal opportunity that you now have to be able to do with TCI. So if you are interested, you can take this opportunity. It's really designed for passionate TCI educators like yourselves, because you guys are here in summer learning about TCI when you could be at the beach or at the pool. So it's really designed for passionate educators like yourselves, and you're going to be able to share your knowledge to make a real difference inside of schools. If you're looking at this, imagine being a part of a dynamic community where you can connect with other teachers, support new TCI users, and contribute to the growth and success of your community. That's what being a TCI coach is all about. Whether you've been using us for years or you're brand new and just getting started within TCI, you're welcome to become a coach. All educators who are passionate about bringing learning alive, this is for you. This is your chance to take your enthusiasm and your expertise to the next level and to help others discover the transformative power of TCI and bringing learning alive. If you're interested in doing this, join us to become a coach. Let's help us inspire and elevate our community all together. And so that's a really great opportunity to have in here. You also have the opportunity to earn $50 Amazon gift card. And all you have to do to earn that is to go into our TCI page and do the hashtag TCI Summit 24 and share something that you learned in here, your biggest takeaway, your most favorite session that you attended, anything that you want to share about today's summit and your experience within our sessions today. Go in and share that. The minute you share using the hashtag TCI Summit 24, you're going to automatically be enrolled into the opportunity to win that gift card. It will be decided. 3 different people will earn $50 Amazon gift cards, and that will be decided in the beginning of August, which is perfect timing, because if you are just getting ready to go back into the school, whether you go back at the middle, beginning, end of August, or after Labor Day, you're going to be ready and available to use that gift card to buy anything you may need or want within your classroom. Or use it for yourself. It does not have to be something you have to turn into the classroom. But I know at this time of year, oftentimes we are spending our own money, making sure that we're getting our classrooms ready.
Laura, before you move ahead, a question from the chat was, how can we match with a coach? And I don't know how to answer that. How does that work? Are you guys still in the process of matching coaches with people?
We are just now starting to work to get coaches. And so once we have all of you amazing educators that sign up to be a coach, we're going to start pairing them off. So that is, you're definitely going to hear a lot more about that to come. Right now, we're just trying to build up our TCI coaches and get them trained, and then we'll start matching. The best place, anytime there's new resources and new things to come about TCI, up on this top toolbar, you'll see this little gift box. This is going to let you know anything that's coming new. So once we have all of our coaches onboarded and trained, this is where you're going to be able to come here, and it will let you know anything that's new. The great thing is if we're developing a new resource, we'll put videos in here so that you see how to use it. We're never going to just put a resource in, hide it, bury it, not tell you about it, and or not give you resources to support you in utilizing that resource. So definitely keep on the lookout for this, what's new. And you can go back and see anything that we've added in the past. You can go back in and see that as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a great question. Okay, guys. Oh, I see some of them already coming in. Thank you. So going ahead in chat, let me know, just giving me some feedback is always super helpful. So I know how I can improve sessions in the future if I'm ever asked to come back again, and how I can just improve myself when I'm going through and doing sessions for TCI. I may have seen some of you because while I am still in the classroom, I do go out and I do trainings once people adopt. And so I may have visited some of you in your districts in the past. Oh, thank you so much. Absolutely great feedback. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, definitely let us know. The last thing that I want to share with you guys, not everybody's going to be able to earn that Amazon gift card if you share. And so we want to make sure that you are all walking away from today with something, because again, we appreciate that you've been here today on your day off in the summer. And so everybody who has registered and participated in Summit, you will all be getting a certificate of attendance. So again, if your district will take this for PD course hours, definitely hand in that certificate of attendance. And all of you are going to be getting one of our TCI tumblers. They are fantastic. I will tell you, last year I got one for participating in Summit, and I got, well, it's not showing because of my background, but I use this every day. And so you guys are going to be getting a tumbler. You can put your favorite beverage, whether it's hot or cold, in here. And you can take it. It's a great thing to take into the school year as well. I always use mine for my tumbler. That one I always use for my coffee, and I take it into the classroom. So you guys will be getting that just for coming in and attending Summit today. Melanie and I are going to be here. So if you have any questions, definitely feel free to stay on and ask us any questions. I can specifically go into any component because we're finishing up a little bit early. I definitely didn't want to keep anybody over. I want to be very mindful of your time. So we're actually going to be finishing a couple minutes early. So if there's anything I can do to support you, feel free to stay on and go ahead and put it in chat or the Q&A box, and we will show you any components. It doesn't have to do with the top investigations. I know I shared some other things that really weren't top investigations, but I feel like as elementary teachers, they're always really helpful to kind of help us with the challenge of finding time for instruction and making this great, fantastic program come alive in your classroom. Thank you guys so much. If you're good to leave. That is the end of TCI Summit 2024. Is there any chance that TCI would ever consider a single license for grades 5 and 6? What do you mean a single license? Can you expand on that for me, Megan? Do you mean teacher license, student license? One that's combining grades 5 and grade 6? So that you're not having to toggle back and forth between two different programs? Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate it. Teacher license. So I'm assuming, and please put it in chat if I'm not understanding, one where it's pushing grades 5 and grade 6 as one program. so that you're not having to like come up here and go back and forth between the two different programs.
Oh, are you in
Oh,
a
I
situation
see.
where you are in a junior high, so you have fifth grade and sixth grade in one building, and that's the science you're teaching? Interesting.
I understand. So as of right now, just the way that the programs and that it's being utilized, there is K-5 and there is middle school. Now, definitely put that in. Remember when I showed you where that feedback button is? Definitely put that into that feedback button. And the other thing that I would highlight for you too is under this feedback tool, you'll also see our customer support email, which is info@teachtci.com. It does not hurt to reach out to them and see if there's any support or resources that they can give you, so you're not having to buy both. Or if something does exist that they might be able to support you with. I'm not sure. I don't know if they have anything like that. But I would definitely reach out to customer support at info@teachtci.com and see. The other thing that you can do is, highlight and share out that some districts are doing more of like a junior high where fifth and sixth are in the same building. And making it, making something that can merge between the two and not be as costly. Definitely let them know that that's something that would benefit you and share that feedback with them. Melanie shared the PD link. And so if you are needing that PD link, definitely click on that so that you can get the professional development and you can fill out the form so that you get your tumbler. Yeah, I get that. I'm sorry, and I get it. I know the struggles. Continue to talk to them and ask them. And have you reached out to customer support in the past? If not, I definitely encourage talking to them and seeing if there's anything that they can do. I'm not sure if there is. Because the licensing is by year, and like you're buying one whole program for fifth grade and whatever programs you're using for sixth grade. So definitely try customer support and just see, but I don't know. I see. Definitely reach out and make that point and let them know. If there's an option, because they have everything kind of bundled. So if you're buying that elementary license, you have access to K-4 below you. And see if there's something that they might be able to do to help you out. All right. And for the rest of you, go ahead and click on that link. Make sure that you're filling out that summit feedback form so that you do get your certificate of attendance and so that you do get your TCI tumbler in the mail. And if you guys are attending NSTA at all this year, bring your TCI tumbler with you and come by the booth and visit us. And then if you are also attending NCSS, if you teach social studies and you're attending NCSS, we love seeing when teachers come up with their tumblers. And that way we know that you've attended our summit sessions. So definitely come by the booths and share your experiences with us as well. We love hearing from teachers. And I highly encourage all of you sharing your hashtag TCI Summit 24 so that you get in the running for that Amazon gift card. Because who can't use a $50 gift card to Amazon in this economy? Whether it's for your classroom, whether you don't get your wish list items, or you're using it for stuff for yourself, we could all use that Amazon gift card. All right, guys. Well, our time is coming to an end. I hope you guys have a fantastic school year. I hope you enjoy summer for a little bit longer. Those Southern friends, I know that school is going to be starting for you really soon. When we lived in Georgia, my kids always went back on August 1st. So for some of you, I know summer is coming to an end really soon. You might already be back in the classroom, setting up your classroom and getting ready. For those Northern teachers, Midwestern teachers, and some of those Western teachers, usually school starts anywhere between mid-August to the beginning of September. So you guys have a little bit longer to enjoy summer. I hope you guys are able to relax and unwind and get yourself in the best mental place so you're ready to start another school year, ready to kick it going, and just have an amazing year with your students. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic year. And thank you so much for coming in and joining us with TCI this year. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to go back. You can go back to the lobby, and that chat is still going to be open at lobby, so anybody can help support you and assist you there. Otherwise, I'm going to officially go ahead and end the meeting. So thank you guys so much. Have a phenomenal year, and we will see you next summer for the next summit.